We love when we hear about new companies, and when they are created by fellow RVers, that's even better. Today, Jim, the founder of Airskirts, joins us. Jim is a full-time RVer that wanted to improve the way skirting goes around his RV, not only with the install process, but the overall performance of the skirt as well. Jim talks about how he took his idea that he originally created for himself and turned it into a business. Airskirts is an inflatable RV skirt that can set up in minutes and be removed just as quickly, making it perfect for people who are on the go. So without any further ado, let's introduce Jim and get this episode started.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for coming on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the company Airskirts?
Sure. So myself, I'm actually a software engineer by trade. I started a company back in 2004. We sold it in 2009. That was a software company, and then worked as a software engineer for quite a while after that. Big companies, little companies. And then about 5 years ago, I sold my brownstone in New York City, sold all my stuff, and I bought an Airstream trailer. And I started traveling around in it full time. And one of the needs I found, or a thing that I found lacking, was the ability to skirt the trailer. So as you guys know, a skirt protects the undercarriage of the trailer, prevents freezing pipes, prevents debris from entering, and also, very importantly, insulates, so retaining a lot of energy. And so I built a product for myself, had it manufactured, started using it. A lot of people saw it and were just like, wow, that's such an awesome idea. Why aren't you selling these? And I kind of said to myself, well, I kind of don't really like writing software, so maybe I should give it a shot. And that was sort of the genesis of Airskirts.
Did you have RVing in your background before that?
Nope, just the fact that I was in an RV full time. But other than that, no, the Airstream was my first RV. And I bought that, like I said, about 5 years ago.
Oh, very cool.
And you've been full-time ever since?
I have, yep.
Okay.
Oh, very cool. So when you, I guess there's been a lot of changes from the Airskirt, from the very first one that you had and people were approaching you to kind of what it is now. How did you come up with the idea of an Airskirt rather than maybe doing what other people do where they kind of make it kind of hokey, where they're using drywall or anything else to go around their RV?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, basically your options are, what a lot of people do is they'll use, like you said, like styrofoam insulation board, cut it to shape, tape it on. There's a lot of problems with that. It's not very resistant to wind. It's super wasteful, super time consuming. It's ugly, which is really the biggest problem. We found that a lot of campground owners don't even want people doing styrofoam skirting. But I mean, the alternative is to do a vinyl skirt, which people do as well. Those you have to drill, up to 400 holes into your trailer.
Wow.
And I had just spent $100,000 on an Airstream, and I was not about to drill 400 holes into it. And also, those skirts don't offer really any insulation at all. They just block the wind. So I've been doing the styrofoam skirting for a couple of years. I often spend winters in New England, in Connecticut specifically. And I just kept racking my brain because I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I don't know, it just sort of popped into my head one night. And I was like, what if I just had something inflatable that reached from the ground to the underside of the trailer and just stuck itself there? And then we'd have this big cushion of air that acted as insulation. And it's also, super, super fast. And there's a ton of other benefits, but that's sort of where the idea came from.
And is air is a good insulator?
It is. Yep,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of people don't realize just how good it is. I worked in glass for a long period of time, and insulated glass, all insulated glass is 2 panes of glass with just a sliver of air in between there. And that's enough so that the outside stays one temperature and your inside stays the other temperature. Yeah.
Exactly right. That's right.
So when you started and you had people approaching you, sorry. So when you started and you had people approaching you about your Airskirt and they said, oh, you should be selling this. Is that who you sold it to? Did somebody contract you and say, hey, could you make me one as well? Would that be considered maybe your first sale?
No, we never did that. So the first thing I did was think, okay, how do I make this a business? Can I bootstrap it? Do I need capital? So I didn't sell any at first to anybody. I actually built out the whole business first, everything from the website, all the creative, all of our assembly, design, engineering. We did all that up front, and we kind of did like a passive launch out of season. So like March, April, May kind of time frame. Not really expecting any sales, and that was sort of our beta test run. And so we had at that time, we were not doing any advertising or marketing, and so we just had a few customers coming in, getting feedback. So that was sort of how we kind of ran our prototype tests, and then of course we've refined the product since then based on customer feedback.
Okay.
And what's the construction of the material?
Yeah, sure. So it's a tarpaulin PVC. So it's essentially I'm actually sitting on one of the tubes right now. It's a canvas that's coated in PVC. It's super, super tough. It's very, very hard to puncture these, and they're built to last for decades. So they have these air valves on them. They also have pressure over release valves, which I can talk about. But the welding, this is heat welded. So this will last 4 decades. I mean, these things are more or less like you would see on the Zodiac inflatable boat. It's not the exact same material, but it's a good kind of analog to tell people about. They're, I don't want to say indestructible, because certainly if you stab them with a knife, you could put a hole in it, but they're very tough.
Yeah, I lived in Alaska for a while, and we did a lot of fishing by Zodiac, so they're very that's very durable material.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that overpressure valve. Sean and I were talking before you came on, and I said, I wonder if there's a way that they're able to prevent overinflating, or if something would start to crush it to relieve pressure out of it. And I said to Sean, I doubt it's that high tech, but you just said it. Well, it does have such a thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the problem obviously is these are very similar to airbags that you could lift a trailer up off the highway if it flipped over. So with too much pressure, so we're very careful in our instructions. These are supposed to be really loosely inflated under the trailer, just enough to hold them in place. But the overpressure valve is kind of a last ditch, right? So if somebody, it doesn't follow the directions, or it gets up to like 120 degrees and it starts expanding, we have these valves. I don't know if you can see this in the video or not. It's probably very tiny. These start releasing pressure at 0.7 psi. So they're very low pressure tubes. So that way, you know, you couldn't lift your trailer off the ground or anything like that. That's kind of the idea, or damage to the tubes.
Okay.
So that's why that's there.
I didn't think about heat and expanding under pressure from the heat. That's good that you mentioned that.
So I watched your video on your website of you and Tori inflating them around an Airstream.
Yes.
And I have a couple questions about it. The pump that you used was an 800 watt pump. Does that come with the kit?
It does. Yep. So in the kit, there's a carry bag, which I have one folded up. But this actually is kind of a big carry bag. It comes with the kit, and everything fits in here. The pump comes with the kit as well, and it's an AC pump. 12 volt just generally isn't enough for this kind of inflation. So people either, if they're at a campground, plug it into shore power, or their inverter or generator or whatever. You only need to do it once, so you're not leaving the pump connected. You're just filling them up and disconnecting it. And then, you know, also with the kit are the tubes, which come in various sizes based on the trailer or motor coach configuration.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the pump because it inflated it pretty darn fast.
Yes,
so I was thinking there's no way that could operate off a 12 volt. Probably.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
And you had said that you loosely inflate them to be secure. So there is no drilling. You don't have to drill anything or attach anything to your RV. You just put these under, inflate till they're snug, and they stay.
And that's really one of the biggest benefits of this. So if you watch the video, the setup time for my trailer, now that I know like where all the tubes go and everything, I get it done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So the idea is that, yeah, it's the pressure between the ground and the underside of the trailer holding them in place. And because of that, they do really well with wind, with snow building up against them. And that's where a lot of other solutions fail. So sometimes you'll see somebody with a vinyl skirt is ripped off and they have to go re-snap it. Or sometimes you'll be at a campground and 100 yards away, you'll see a big piece of styrofoam that floated off in the middle of the night. These things you could actually kick and they will not move. So they're very resistant to wind, and it's really the air pressure that's holding them in place, which is also why the setup is so quick, and you don't have to put a single hole in your RV. You don't have to change anything about your RV.
I like that. And you mentioned weather resistant. So, I mean, they're good snow, rain. You mentioned sun, I guess. So they're pretty resilient
Absolutely.
against heat and all that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, they're really tough. And then we have some other components too to fully seal off the trailer. So we have, like, for dual axle trailers, we have this thing called a tire wedge. So this goes between your two tires. So we have some other specialized products. This thing is like this is called a stair pillow. This is for those kind of stairs like an Airstream or a lot of travel trailers have that drop underneath, because there will be some gaps created. So this just fills that gap. So yeah, there's a number of other things we offer to seal things up.
And
Yeah, I like the stair pillow, and it looked pretty easy to stick in there and pump up. So I thought it would be more complicated, but it was pretty straightforward.
so when you're doing your install, you're just placing the air skirt in position where you want it. Then you do the inflate until it. Man, that is easy. Man, that's easy.
Yeah, you maybe move them a little bit so that they're snug as you're doing the inflate. So usually we tell people fill them up about halfway, reposition them, then fill them up the whole way. And that's it. I mean, it's super quick. And that's the nice thing about it. We have a lot of customers who, go skiing or hunting, and they're, setting up somewhere camp for 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And because they're so quick to set up and to break down, they're able to skirt their trailer even if they're making short stops. And obviously any other kind of skirting, you're talking about styrofoam, you're talking about a full day of work. I saw a guy who did a wood skirt, said it took him about 3 days. So you're not moving around with that kind of skirt. That's completely permanent skirting. And this stuff is made to go with you. You could skirt for a weekend if you wanted to. It's quick enough.
Yeah, that bag that you held up and you said this is the kit. Is that an entire kit that's everything that you need for a travel trailer?
Yeah, so this bag fits everything you would need. This is just folded up right now. This is a big carry bag. And then the tubes, so I'm sitting on a 22-inch tubes. We make them in 2 different diameters. So this fits most bumper pull travel trailers. This will fit an Airstream or a Lance or something like that. And then for fifth wheels and for travel trailers that sit a lot higher off the ground, we have a 34-inch tube. And then they come in different lanes. So they come in 4, 6, and 8 feet, and we're about to introduce a 2-foot tube as well. So like, for example, this one here, which I'll kind of see if I can show you. This is just this is a smaller tube. This is a 4-foot tube. Okay. And that's why the kits, so another thing that's kind of unique is we're actually able to sell these off the shelf, which you can't do with any other kind of skirt because they're so modular. So basically you just get the right number of tubes, and we have different kit sizes, and then you just configure them, conform them a little bit because they do bend and they can be compressed in and out. And then they'll fit pretty much any trailer. So we just sell them based on the length of the RV and the height off the ground.
Okay.
What about drivables, like a motorhome?
Yep, not a problem. Yeah, we have plenty of people in Class Cs, Class As. It's the same concept. Typically with those, we try to get a measurement between the wheels just to make sure we're putting exactly the right tubes in. Those are the only ones we really need to measure. Travel trailers in general, the kits just work based on, as long as you buy the right kit length. But motorhomes will typically take a measurement first, but they work fine. These tubes don't have to inflate all the way. This is actually overinflated, so I can sit on it. But if I had a lower ground clearance, it would just kind of, go maybe that high or that high or that high.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody's interested in purchasing one, you said off the shelf, so it doesn't sound like they necessarily need to contact you, let you know what type of travel trailer or RV they have. They can kind of just figure it out on their own, I guess, what they need.
They can, yeah. All the information's on the website. We're always more than happy to take a call and help them, though. We answer the phone all the time, sometimes even really late at night. And so I think a lot of our customers, with this kind of sale, want to talk to a real human being and just make sure they're doing the right thing. But yes, they get the kits are fixed. There are, I think, 6 or not, I don't remember how many kits there are, but there's just a certain number you can choose from. You pick the right one, you order it, we ship it to you. So there's only a certain number of variations. And
then, sorry, Jim, I just have a real quick follow-up. When they're doing the install for the very first time, are they labeled in any way? Are they marked front, back, left, right, or anything like that?
So no, so they're just labeled with the different tube sizes. But in the instruction book we provide, we give some detail as to how to figure out where they go. The first time you set it up, it might be a little trial and error. So maybe the first time will take you 30 minutes. Because there's, think of them like Legos. There's a lot of ways you can put them together. But we provide some general guidance. I just had a customer email me yesterday. He actually does portable showers, not RVs, and he's using these for his showers. And he was just telling us how blown away he was by how easy it was. He didn't have to call us for setup. We actually almost rarely have people with setup problems. They all figure it out on their own.
And have you done any testing as to the temperature difference inside the RV or on the floor of the RV in that using the air skirts versus not using the air skirts?
Nothing very scientific.
Okay.
But I can tell you, it's you can tell pretty quickly. Even with like a sheet of vinyl skirting, you can tell pretty quickly. But just the are my feet cold on the floor test is pretty good.
Yeah.
But you can immediately see the energy savings. I mean, I used to go through so much propane when I didn't have a skirt on, because in a lot of travel trailers and fifth wheels, there's little to no insulation in the floor specifically. Mm-hmm. And that's for good reason, because you need the heat to go through the floor to keep the pipes warm.
Right.
But the problem is then you're dissipating tons of heat. And we actually recommend that you use these in the summer too, because you're going to get the same effect of saving money on energy. And the reason other people don't use skirts in the summer is just it's too much of a pain. But since these are so easy to use, and because they provide so much more insulation than other skirts, we say use them year round. And I even recommend it for people that are rarely in cold weather, because it'll still save them on energy costs. So to answer your question, no scientific test, but anecdotally, I can tell you that they do retain a lot of heat very well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the summertime as well, because it seems like it would help with the heat also.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you're running air conditioning in the summer, which a lot of people obviously do, because these like tin cans tend to heat up pretty quickly. Obviously everybody knows cold air sinks, right? So, and you have no insulation in your floor, you're just leaching energy out of your floor all the time. So This is a big cost savings there.
You've mentioned that you have 6 standard sizes. Do you also do custom? Could somebody call you and say, hey, I have the most bizarre shape RV you've ever seen. Could you guys make them something if they needed it?
So we don't make, what we can do for folks like that is just sell them different configuration of tubes. Okay. They can even create their own kit online based on the sizes they need, but typically they'll call us and we'll help. We don't make custom products. So if they're like, I need a 7.2 inch tube, well, first of all, you don't really need that, or I guess it wouldn't be 7.2 inches, 7.2 feet. You don't really need that because our tubes will conform out, so it's not going to really matter that much. But yeah, we had somebody the other day with a bus from the 1940s or something, really weird configuration. So we just had to help her find the right tubes to fit that kind of very oddly shaped bus. But they can always call, we can set it up for them, or they can select the items they need from the website, and we can ship them out that way.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds custom to me. If you're making a custom kit, something that you wouldn't find on the shelf, that sounds like custom to me. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. How many versions did you have to go through before you got to this current version?
Well, so we've added a bunch of products, and those will go through a couple iterations. We're working on a new product right now, and we're getting our 5th prototype at the moment. I would say the tubes, the fundamental concept was pretty solid from the get-go. The valves were in bad places or weren't overflow valves. The material was a little bit different. I'd say this is probably I doubt this design is going to change anytime soon. This is probably the 4th or 5th iteration, but this is what we've been selling since we've really been selling. Because we only really started advertising in the beginning of the fall. And sales have skyrocketed since then, but we've only sold this model. So the only people that got the older models were kind of those beta testing customers that I told you about before.
So the fall of 2020?
Yeah, we're new. Yeah, we're new.
Great. And so how many years was it that you first started to when you started actually selling?
Well, because I created them for myself, I was just using them on my own, I think, for 2 seasons. And then we built the business. My brother, who's part of the business, is an engineer and has a big background in manufacturing. So he helped a lot. And so we're sort of partners. And that was probably the beginning of 2020 is when we really started putting everything together in terms of getting the business. And then obviously the sales season it is kind of a seasonal product. So sales, we started really pushing advertising back in, the beginning of the fall.
And then what about maintenance, Jim? Is there any maintenance that needs to be done? And then what about warranty?
Okay, I'll talk to both of those. So maintenance, after dramatic temperature changes, you may need to add or remove air because, as I said, and air obviously increases or decreases with temperature. They have to be pretty dramatic. Like I skirted my RV for the winter. I don't think I inflated or deflated once. However, when summer comes around, I'm going to have to let some air out. The warranty is I think very good. We just upped it to 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's on material and craftsmanship. They're very hard to puncture if you follow the directions. We wouldn't cover a puncture in the warranty, but we do include patches with the kit should that happen. Only happened to one customer so far, which I think is pretty good.
That's great.
So yeah, 5-year warranty. But like I said, I think these things will last decades. I mean, these are meant to last forever.
So if I go out hunting, November, December, and I'm off grid somewhere, is there any ground that you would say do not use the Airskirts on?
Nope. You can use it on rocky ground, gravel, sticks and stones. Doesn't make much of a difference.
Okay.
Unless you overinflate it. If you start overinflating them, then on sharp objects, you could potentially have a puncture. But as long as you're following the directions, unless you have razor blades all over the ground, you should be fine.
So it'll just form to whatever the ground is.
Yeah, I mean, so let's say your trailer's off level because you're parked on kind of a slope. The tube will basically form like this.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it does have some pliability. So if you're going around like a sewer drain, let's say, it'll form up around the sewer drain. And it'll leave tiny gaps for people who are in, say, Montana, or maybe it gets to negative 30 degrees and they want to fill every single crevice. We also sell these buffer pillows. So these things you just put in and zip, and they can fill in any little cracks or holes. But we typically don't sell those to customers unless they are like, I have to have every single tiny little hole filled. But we do offer them for that reason.
Okay.
And you had just mentioned something I didn't think about. Your travel trailer or RV doesn't even necessarily need to be level because.
Nope.
Yeah, that's great. I wasn't even thinking that. I thought for some reason I was thinking everything, you level it all up and then that's when you would use these. But like you just said, because you're filling to what you need it to be, the RV doesn't have to be perfectly level. That's nice. And then,
yeah, I mean, so I guess if you were on like a 20-degree incline, the tube might not be big enough anymore. So it needs to be level to some extent. Like, don't park on the side of a mountain if you can avoid it. But yeah, I mean, there's enough give that it does not need to be perfectly level.
Yeah,
the ground doesn't need to be perfectly level.
If you're within a few degrees, it's probably not going to make much of a difference. Yeah,
you'll be fine. Yeah.
I had another question about your warranty. Does that 5-year warranty cover the compressor or the pump?
Yep. It does. Yep.
Oh, perfect. That's
yeah,
great.
if anything goes wrong with the compressor, just send it back. We'll send you a new one. Okay.
And where is Airskirt being manufactured right now?
So like most manufacturers, we have to source from all over the world. It's just a function of the way the economy works. But everything is designed, engineered, and assembled here in Connecticut. Our parts come from China, Taiwan. I mean, I'd love to make every single part in the U.S., but that would make everything prohibitively expensive for our customers, unfortunately. And hopefully that'll change one day. But that's kind of the state of the union for now, I suppose.
So I wonder how much of a difference or how much of an adjustment you had to make from going from a software developer, software engineer, to a product manufacturer. I imagine there's some challenges there that you didn't see in the software engineering business.
It's a totally different world. And I gotta be honest, I am so much happier. Software, and especially working at big companies. So after my startup got acquired, I worked at a very large company, about 10,000 employees, is incredibly frustrating. I'm sure it's the same in other industries. There's a lot of politics. I was writing code, but I was also managing big teams of developers. And honestly, I just wasn't passionate about it at the end of the day. And this product, I mean, it's something I believe in. I made it for myself. I made it for a reason. And fortunately, I have the support of my brother, who has been doing manufacturing for his whole career, and logistics and all that sort of stuff. So that part, without him, I don't know how the heck I would have done this. Yeah, just career-wise, for me, this is like a dream come true. I've always loved industrial design. I've always loved thinking of inventions and product ideas, and the opportunity to do this just, I mean, is, I don't think could be surpassed. I really want this business to last and succeed, and it's so much fun. It's really so much fun, whether we're packing boxes or talking to customers who just got their kit and they're thrilled, or doing the work on the website. It's all just a blast.
And how many staff members do you have?
We work mostly with contractors.
Okay.
Yeah, because our sales and support staff are located all over the country. Most, or if not all of them, are full-time RVers. We do like to hire that way. So they're all contractors. In manufacturing, probably 10 people, and then in the old Saybrook office, about 5. So we're pretty small still, but we are very efficient.
I thought the
Yeah,
opposite.
that's
I
great
thought that
that-
sounded like a large operation, actually, for being so new and young of a company. I think that's great.
It's pretty amazing how many of these things we're selling. It's very much surpassed my expectations. I guess people just, I don't know, clutch onto the idea, get the idea pretty quickly, and love it. So.
Yeah,
When
that's
you have a
great
good
that
product,
you bring.
that's
That's
sorry.
great that you bring in full-time RVers too to help with the sales. I imagine nobody sells it better than a full-time RVer that's using it.
That's absolutely right. And our big push now, so we do all direct-to-consumer sales right now. We want to get these things in dealerships. And so by having a distributed sales force like that, I can have people show up at a dealership, demo the product. There's no better way to sell this product than to show somebody it. So it helps a lot. And yeah, I mean, I want to support people the full-time RV lifestyle, I'm a huge proponent of. It's obviously growing very, very rapidly right now, especially with COVID. And some people are out of work too, and I want to support them. And so I want to support people in our community. I mean, this is a product built for this community, right? So yeah, that's the thinking there. I make an effort to try and get those people to help. And yeah, they know RVs, right? So that doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, the RV manufacturing right now is having a big boost because of COVID. Is that what you guys are experiencing? Okay, you're experiencing that as well.
Yeah, we get a lot of customers who are saying, yeah, I have my RVs on order, but it's 4 months backlogged or something like that. I think Airstreams are like 6 or 7 months at this point. It's crazy.
Wow. I have a saying that, you always hear in local communities, they say like buy local or shop local. And they have those local shopping days every year where they want everybody to go shop at the local stores instead of the big box stores. And I always say that about RVing, like shop RV local, buy from full-time RVers that have products.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I do buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, but not my RV stuff. I like to go to the RV store, support those people. I mean, these are small businesses. We're a small business. This is a family operated business. But I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yeah.
Do you notice I don't know, trend would be the correct word. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but do you see that you are selling more in one section of the country than other sections of the country?
It's interesting. So our customers, from what I can tell, they kind of fall into a few different categories. So we have kind of snowbird isn't the right term, but people who are just retired, traveling, they come from all over. We also get a lot of customers who are full-time stationary RVers. We sell a surprising amount of kits in states with lower populations. So states like Wisconsin, South Dakota, Montana. That's actually a lot of our sales come from those regions, but we sell them all over the country, mostly in the northern part of the country, for kind of obvious reasons. But yeah, everywhere. And we started selling to Canada too now. So we're getting a lot of Canadian orders in as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine this year it probably some good sales since the Canadians can't bring their RVs down here this year.
And that's actually been a big thing for us, I think, with growth-wise. Is first of all, people can't take their regular vacations, right? They can't fly to Paris or whatever they're going to do. A lot of people, we offer 10% off to medical health workers, obviously because of COVID, and veterans and first responders and stuff too. But a lot of medical professionals are living in their RVs while the rest of the family lives in their house, which they wouldn't have done before. So yeah, there's a lot of impact from that in all aspects of this business, I think.
Yeah. And before we got on with you and started recording anyway, you were talking about that you were about to go on a little bit of a trip and doing marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about that, where you're headed? Where can people find you and check these things out in person?
Yeah, so we are going to head out in my Airstream. We're going to bring the product with us, and we're going to kind of set up meetings as we go along. Because when I'm traveling, I'm not much of one to stick to a plan. And I'm going with my son. He's 19. He's working for the company now as well. And we're going to start taking a southern route until it gets a little warmer. But we just want to, knock on as many doors as possible. If there are RV dealerships out there who want to meet us, I'd encourage them to get in contact with us. We can always send them literature and signage ahead of time, but we'd love to stop and meet them, show them the product. Even individual customers will do the same thing. We would love to if they're along the way. I imagine we'll probably post on Instagram where we're at, stuff like that.
And that was going to be my follow-up. You just mentioned Instagram. What other types of marketing avenues have you explored? Do you use Facebook? You just mentioned Instagram. Do you have YouTube? And what have you found that seems to work the best?
So right now since we're bootstrapped, right? I built this company entirely off my own funding. We are doing very targeted advertising. We found that Facebook does not convert very well. Google ads, I think, accounts for 35% of our sales at the moment. And the rest is almost entirely organic search and referral from other customers. So with the social media stuff, we just haven't put enough energy into it yet. With Instagram, Pinterest, I think, is going to be a big one for us, believe it or not. And Facebook, I think Facebook is about building brand awareness, which is definitely important. So we do some stuff on there, but we're not doing paid advertising on there at the moment.
Okay. Sean, I believe we use Pinterest, and we noticed a big bump when we started Pinterest. So Pinterest seems to be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like everyone's like, oh, you got to advertise on Instagram, you got to advertise on Snapchat. And I'm like, I don't think that's my target audience. Because like Pinterest, my dad has an account on Pinterest and he uses it every single day. He does not have, trust me, he does not have Snapchat or Instagram. Actually, we just signed him up for a Facebook account yesterday, which was a really big deal for him. But he's on Pinterest every day, I swear to God. So yeah, we think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I still do not have Facebook. I always say that I'm the last person, but
Good for you.
Yeah, I tried it and I didn't get it back when it was, I guess, gaining popularity, and I just never went back to it. But when I did try to go back to it, I thought it was clunky, and I was like, I don't get it. I still don't get it.
I'm a big individual privacy rights advocate, and coming from a computer science background, that stuff often scares me. But I keep a Facebook account anyway, just because the RV-related Facebook groups are so valuable to me. Mm-hmm. Airstream addicts in particular, you can post any single question about an Airstream, the most obscure problem you're having, in 10 minutes someone has a solution for you. So it's worth keeping it around just for that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I want to go back to the product just for a minute. I watched the video again of you inflating the Airskirts. What about deflating them?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's basically the same exact process, except the pump. Basically, the end twists off, and you put it on the other side, and then you put it in just as if you're going to inflate it, run the pump, and it sucks all the air out. And then you just fold it back up, and it goes into a neat little folded package. I'll show you guys. This is basically what a deflated tube looks like. So they're not very big. They actually pack up really small. And it's really like, a lot of products, you'll unfold it for the first time and never get it back into the box. These are actually pretty easy to get back into their original package shape.
So they fold down pretty small, so it's no problem with storage in the RV when you're traveling.
No, I mean, a lot of our kits, when we ship them out, fit into a 24-inch by 24-inch by 18-inch box, the entire kit. So yeah, they're pretty tiny. They're heavy, right? Because this is a very durable material. So our kits, they probably start at 60 pounds and go up from there. But again, you don't have to handle the whole thing at once. You take one
Right.
tube out, and those are just a few pounds, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, they pack up quite small.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that, Sean, because I was picturing that you just release a valve and
That's
you're
what
like
I thought.
standing on it, walking back and forth across it. No, but the
Yep.
compressor makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, you just suck the air out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jim, I think that is all of our questions. Is there anything that we might have missed or that you would like to add to the conversation?
You know, one thing that I think that I'll just bring up, the last thing I think that's interesting about the product is our solution is unique in the sense that if any other skirting solution lives and dies with your RV, whether it's styrofoam, a custom skirt that can cost you $3,000+ if you get a new RV, that thing is useless. With Airskirts, you can reuse it with your next RV when you upgrade, and most RV owners do upgrade. Maybe you have to add or remove a tube, but we sell those individually. So I just think that's one more reason that this is a good investment, is it can stay with you for life, as opposed to a skirt that you drilled 1 million holes into your trailer and maybe the next owner doesn't even want, and you brought your trailer value down. This is a value add that stays with you no matter how many trailers or motor coaches you have.
Yeah, that's a good point, that it's interchangeable. Essentially, you take it with you when you get a new one. And we know people that change RVs every year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, some people are a little crazy like that. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great product to take with you when you're going. And I think the best place to find you right now is just go to airskirts.com.
Yep, airskirts.com. And like I said, we're always happy to talk on the phone, even if people just have questions about winter RVing. You know, like I said, this is a labor of love. You know, we're not in this to be millionaires. We will just chat with you about, even if you're going to do styrofoam, we can give you some pointers. So they can always call us. It's 833-4-SKIRTS, 833-4-SKIRTS. And we're open 12 hours a day, every day, Eastern time, 8 to 8. So yeah, website, call us. Those are really the best places to find us.
All right. And then in our show notes for anybody listening, we're going to put some links for his website. We'll also have some photos of the Airskirt so you can take a look at it and see it right from there and then easily get to their website.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim, for your time today. And we really enjoyed talking about it. It's impressive to me how flexible this product really is.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this, and it was a great conversation today. So I really do appreciate it. And thanks for spreading the Airskirts love.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. And after talking with you, I can see why you're growing so fast. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Kenny and I always enjoy interviewing full-time RVers who have turned an idea from the road into a business. Remember to support these RV entrepreneurs by shopping RV local when possible. We hope you enjoyed the episode and will subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for the latest information about the show. Also, check out our website, beyondthewheelpodcast.com, for the latest RV news and information. Thanks again, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.